Hi, this is Michael Buffer, and welcome to the BoxHard Podcast.
Hello, everyone. This is Mikey Garcia.
Yo, it's your boy, the odd guy himself, Malik King Scott.
Hi, I'm Charlie Edwards.
This is Fast Eddie Chambers, and you're listening to the BoxHard Podcast with my main man, Joey Coastman.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 28 of the BoxHard Podcast. I'm your host, Joey Coastman. I'm joined, as always, by Ayaz Sumra. Ayaz, how you doing?
I'm good, Joey. How are you?
Very good, very good. Okay, we're going to waste no time. We're going to get straight into part one, the review part where we talk about the fights that happened last week. We're going to start over in Germany. This happened on the Saturday. Just one fight I want to mention over there for the interim WBA World Super Welterweight title. Jack Kulkai, 21-1, defended the belt against Jean Carlos Prada. Jean Carlos Prada retired after 9 rounds, so he didn't come out for the 10th. I'm not too sure what happened there. I'll be honest, I didn't see it, but I just thought we'd let you know. We're now going to go over to the O2, the massive card that took place at the O2. We're going to start down the bill. I think we should start with the debutant, Conor Benn. This is a fight I was actually pretty much ringside for, Ayaz. I know that you saw it on the TV. I'll be honest, I kind of looked up and next thing you know, the fight was over. What did you see from Conor Benn? What did we see from Conor Benn? All I really saw was the finish. I saw everyone going crazy in the crowd. And of course, he managed to get the TKO in the first round. So was you impressed with Benn at all, Ayaz?
Yeah, I was impressed on his debut. He came out firing and next minute in this first round, knocked him out.
Yeah, absolutely. So, again, it'd be interesting to see him, next time out. Hopefully we see him fight quite regularly this year. It would be nice because there's a few juicy bills coming up. Of course, Joshua will be fighting sometime in the future. It'd be good if he can get on a few of those bills. We're going to move over to the other fight on the bill. Ted Cheeseman, he moved to 4-0. With a TKO in the 4th round over Mario Petrov. That again was a fight that wasn't shown. I don't believe it was shown on the pay-per-view. Was it shown on pay-per-view, Ayaz, the Ted Cheeseman fight?
Oh, the Ted Cheeseman fight wasn't shown on pay-per-view.
Okay. Yeah. All right, then. We're going to go over now to the O'Hara Davies fight. Now, this was a fight that I actually missed, Ayaz, so you'll have to tell me what we saw. I'm aware that, of course, O'Hara Davies picked up the win. He moved to 11-0, and he picked up the vacant English lightweight title. The guy he was facing, Andy Keats, he was down in the first round from a right uppercut. Of course, he was down in the 4th round, which finally stopped the bout. He was dropped with a body shot in the 4th, so Andy Keats racks up another loss, and O'Hara Davies, of course, the new English lightweight champion, 11-0. Was you impressed at all with O'Hara, Ayaz?
Yes, I was impressed. I'll tell you one thing. O'Hara Davies is the way he's going through all these fighters. He's very talented, and we can see him hopefully in the future win a world title. Yeah,
of course, it's early days at the moment, but it'd be interesting. So we will be keeping our eyes firmly peeled here on O'Hara Davies. We're now going to go over to George Groves. Of course, he was on the bill facing undefeated fighter from Scotland, 16-0 with the one draw, David Brophy. George Groves managed to get the KO in the 4th round, so David Brophy now has his first career loss. George Groves marching on to bigger and better things with a new record of 23-3. This, of course, was for the vacant WBA International Super Middleweight title. George Groves, again, this was actually a fight I missed, as I left quite early on the night. I was only there for about 4 or 5 fights, so I missed this one. So you'll have to tell me what you thought of George Groves.
I think George Groves did very good. His jab was perfect during the fight. And obviously in the 4th round, David Brophy had a bit of a cut. And in the 4th round, Brophy was knocked out by George Groves.
Yeah, again, George Groves, one of the best jabs in British boxing, to be honest. Moving up that bill now, we're gonna talk about the... Just before we go on to the 3 world title fights, we're going to go to the Matthew Macklin and Brian Rose fight. Of course, these guys, in my opinion, are kind of both over the hill now. I don't know if I'd go as far as saying they're shot, but I think they're well over the hill, these guys. They really don't have much left in the tank. It was for the vacant IBF Intercontinental Middleweight title. Of course, Macklin had 1 point deducted in the 10th round for repeated low blows. Rose had a point deducted in the 12th round for holding. I know that the title, of course, was only on the line for Brian Rose because Matthew Macklin missed the weight. So Matthew Macklin ultimately ended up getting the win. It was a majority decision after 12 rounds. What did you think of this fight? Was you impressed at all, Ayaz? Because, I mean, from where I was sitting, everybody was sort of saying it was going to be the fight of the night. It could perhaps steal the show. The crowd weren't really in the place, to be totally honest. It was one of the first fights. I believe it was the third fight or the fourth fight. Hardly anyone had really turned up in the arena to watch this one, so the noise wasn't too great while the fight was going on. I wasn't paying too much attention to it. In my opinion, I kind of thought that we were going to see not really a good performance, but I think it was either going to go two ways. It was either going to be an out-and-out war or basically an out-and-out disappointment. I mean, in my opinion, like I said, I wasn't really watching it too much, but it didn't really look too exciting from where I was sitting. Again, I wasn't paying too much attention, like I say. But what did you make of that fight? I was watching it at home, of course.
I reckon it was a good fight. But I'll tell you one thing. You know this fight, they gave the fight to Macklin, who won the fight. I reckon, in my opinion, it should have been a draw.
You know, again, like I say, I wasn't really paying close attention, but you know, it didn't steal the show though, Ayaz, did it? You know what I mean? A lot of people were sort of saying that this could be one to steal the show, but it really didn't catch light, to be honest, like they thought it was going to be.
That's what I thought as well. I thought they said that this fight was going to be fight of the year. But to tell you one thing, it wasn't really fight of the year, and it didn't really drag anyone's attention.
Yeah, I don't even think it was fight of the night, to be honest. Now we're going to go over to the 3 world title fights. Of course, we're going to start with Jamie McDonnell. Jamie McDonnell defending his WBA World Bantamweight title against late replacement Fernando Vargas. Fernando Vargas going into this fight with a record of 29 wins, 9 losses and 3 draws. Of course, Jamie McDonnell 27-2 with the 1 draw. Jamie McDonnell picked up the TKO in round 9. He pretty much was too good for Fernando Vargas, to be honest. But again, he didn't really know too much about Fernando Vargas. Like I say, it was a late replacement. I know that they were training for somebody who was a little bit taller. I know that I spoke to Dave Caldwell at the press conference, and he was a bit like, he was kind of surprised because he said, to be honest, I didn't realize how short that Fernando Vargas was. So Fernando Vargas was a lot sort of quicker and I want to say, like, you know, quicker on his feet kind of thing and quicker with his hands than they were expecting. So Jamie McDonnell, like I say, he won pretty much every single round and he got the TKO in the 9th round. But this guy, he didn't really come to make it look competitive. He kind of was just in there to survive, in my opinion. So Jamie McDonnell didn't really look $1 million getting the win, but nonetheless, another win for him and another successful world title defense. We're now going to go over to Lee Selby defending his IBF World Featherweight title against Eric Hunter. Now, this was an intriguing fight. Lee Selby 22-1 going into this fight. Eric Hunter, we had him on the show last week, 21-3. It started off with a cagey first round, to be honest. Both guys were kind of reluctant to really, you know, jump on it straight away. They was sort of feeling each other out. Round 2, I think Eric Hunter came out and won the round pretty big, to be honest. I think that Eric Hunter was slipping his shots. He was making Selby miss a lot. And I think Selby wasn't really using that jab, using that reach advantage over the clearly shorter and smaller Eric Hunter. So Lee Selby not really using that jab effectively. Of course, Eric Hunter, like I say, made him miss and made him look pretty average, to be honest. Then we come out in the 3rd round. Eric Hunter again had a decent round here, made Selby miss a lot. Really looked good, Eric Hunter. Looked like looked like Selby was in a horrible fight, to be honest. You know, nothing was going right for him in that 3rd round. And ultimately, Eric Hunter caught him with a left hook and put him down. So Selby was down there in the 3rd round. A few of the rounds after that, Selby managed to sort of, I believe he was probably listening to his corner. He fought smart. He got up, of course, from the knockdown, and he was really working behind that jab. He was winning a few rounds with just the jab. It looked like Eric Hunter was just sort of waiting for that right hand to come in from Selby so he could counter punch him, because Eric Hunter, of course, has got like a similar sort of style to Mayweather. He's got that counter puncher's style, and he seemed to be waiting too much for Lee Selby, and Lee Selby was happy just to pop out that jab and keep him at bay and win the rounds on just the jab alone. So Eric Hunter, like I say, was waiting for the right hand. Lee Selby was happy to not throw the right hand. And when he did throw the right hand, Eric Hunter had good success because he was able to counter him. He was able to show very impressive lateral movement. But like I say, Lee Selby was racking up quite a few rounds using his size. Eric Hunter then had basically his knockdown nullified, that 10-8 round nullified, because he was deducted a point in the 7th round for repeated low blows. Again, this is something that we've seen from Eric Hunter in the past, deliberate low blows. In this case, I don't think they were deliberate. A lot of people are moaning about this in the crowd over social media. Lee Selby's his shorts were very, very high. They was above his belly button, and I'm not being funny, but of course it's below the waist, below the belt that you're not allowed to hit. And he was hitting him above it. He was hitting him around his belly button. So that really shouldn't be called a low blow. I believe that the referee didn't really do too good in this fight, to be totally honest. But it went to unanimous decision. Lee Selby got the unanimous decision win after 12 rounds. So Lee Selby retains his IBF World Featherweight title and moves to 23-1. Eric Hunter, like I say, gave a good account of himself, but I don't think a lot of boys will want to be facing him because he has got that tricky style. He just needed to be a little bit busier on the night, but his record now 21-4. Now we're going to go over to the big one. Top of the bill, IBF World Heavyweight title, Charles Martin 23-0 with the one draw. Anthony Joshua 15-0. Both guys unbeaten, both guys power punchers, both guys many knockouts. I believe they had a combined knockout percentage of 96%. It's absolutely staggering. Somebody's had to go. Charles Martin, of course, coming over to England for his first defence. He was down twice in the second round and he completely got demolished by Anthony Joshua, to be totally honest. I'm not going to mince my words on that. I think that Charles Martin really, he seemed frightened before he got in the ring. As soon as the bell went, he didn't really throw any punches. He's a big guy. I believe he's got somewhere around the same reach as Joshua. He just seemed to not. He was throwing punches that were falling short. And I'm not going to knock Joshua at all. I think that Joshua's, of course, a great fighter, but he's not really one that sort of. I don't think he uses his distance fantastic against big fighters. We haven't seen it enough, but he didn't Martin's throwing out a punch and Joshua he wasn't moving back to move out the way of it. He was just standing where he was. It was just a simple fact of Martin throwing a punch way too short. And when he was doing that and jumping in with it, Joshua was just going whack and countering him. So a really poor performance by Charles Martin. He didn't even look like a southpaw in there. He was standing straight on a few times. I saw him with his feet standing completely next to each other, straight on, which obviously means that the target is twice as big as if you're standing sideways. So he was really open for the punches. And of course, I think that in the first round, Joshua kind of maybe gave him a little bit too much respect, but nowhere near the same amount of respect as Charles Martin gave Joshua, nowhere near. And in the second round, I think Joshua thought, do you know what, it's time to start landing a few bombs. And as soon as he made that his mentality, see you later, Charles Martin. Of course, again, it's a fight that we really haven't have to seen him dig deep in. He's just kind of come out and done his thing and wiped the guy out within 4 rounds like he's done to all but one of his opponents. And of course, that one opponent, Dillian White.
I was impressed by his performance.
Yeah, he was waiting till the last few seconds on the first knockdown. He was knocked down. He clearly knew where he was. I don't agree with the commentating. The commentating was, I'm not sure who it was. I'm not sure if it was Glenn McCrory. He was screaming, saying he doesn't know where he is. He doesn't know where he is. He did. He was looking at his corner. He looked at the ref. He waited till the ref counted to about 8 or 9 and he got up. So he was literally, it shows professionalism, it shows experience when you stay on the floor just to get those vital seconds, those extra vital seconds of recovery. If you just get knocked down and get straight back up, you're not really ready, So yeah, he's done that on the first knockdown. And on the second knockdown, he wanted to do it again. And I don't really want to sit here and start, saying that he wanted a way out of the fight, but he didn't. He was looking at his corner for about 3 or 4 seconds during the count, and that's way too long, way too long, especially in a fight of this magnitude. You got to remember, Charles Martin is the heavyweight champion of the world. He ain't leaving nothing up to an English referee. They all get told this. All the Americans, they're whenever you're fighting away from home, you've always got to watch out for the referees. I'm not saying that the referees over here are dodgy. I think they're absolutely down the line, straight down the line. I think they're really good referees over here. But you can't leave it up to the referee by chance. You know, you cannot leave it 1 or 2 seconds. You need to be getting up at 8, not getting up at 9. And to be honest, he got up at about 9.5, and I think he knew what he was doing. And then he waited, and as soon as he got up, the referee was on 10. So what can you really do, you know? But you shouldn't be leaving something like that in a fight that big. It was like the biggest fight of his whole life. You know, you shouldn't be leaving that into the referee's hands, because you can't knock the referee. All he done was count it to 10. If the guy's not up with his hands up, ready to go, then the referee's got no other choice but to wave it off. So now we will see, of course, Joshua in a few big fights. He's now at that top level. A lot of people were saying, is he ready for it? I'm not sure he's ready for it. You know, but now he's at that level, so there's no turning back from here. All his fights that he'll be having now will be with top 15 guys at least. So Anthony Joshua, we're really going to see what he's made of here, because we do need to remember, just for the fans that are tuning into this podcast that may not be hardcore boxing fans, maybe guys that just, you know, watch the sport every now and then when there's a big fight on. To be the man, you've got to beat the man. That's what they say in boxing. To be the man, you've got to beat the man. Now, of course, there's now 3 heavyweight champions of the world, but we'll go back to where it started. All of the belts were held by the 2 Klitschko brothers, Vitaly Klitschko and Vladimir Klitschko. Vitaly Klitschko had the WBC belt. Okay, there's 4 belts regarded as the top belts: WBC, WBA, WBO, and IBF. So the WBC belt was held by Vitaly Klitschko. The IBF, the WBO, and the WBA were all held by Vladimir Klitschko. So Vitaly decided to retire, so his title became vacant. And then Bermane Stiverne ended up with the belt. Deontay Wilder beat Bermane Stiverne, and Deontay Wilder's the new WBC champion. So that was the only belt that the Klitschko didn't have, that the remaining Klitschko didn't have, which was Vladimir Klitschko. Of course, then Vladimir Klitschko faced Tyson Fury, and Vladimir Klitschko was the man. Okay, not Deontay Wilder. Deontay Wilder's just won it. He's fought a string of people that nobody's heard of, apart from 1 or 2 or 3. And of course, he's not the man. The main man is who's been reigning the longest with the most belts and everything is Vladimir Klitschko. So Vladimir Klitschko fought Tyson Fury in Germany. Tyson Fury beat him, took his 3 belts. His 3 belts were the IBF, WBO, and WBA. Now, because Tyson Fury signed in the contract that he would have to have a rematch with Klitschko if he was to beat Klitschko, which I believe the Klitschkos put in a hell of a lot of their contracts, because everything's got to go the champion's way. So Tyson Fury had agreed to this, like I believe David Haye had to when he fought him, etc., etc. He of course had to defend the titles again straight away. He couldn't have a fight beforehand straight away with Klitschko. So when Klitschko decided he was going to exercise, you know, that clause of the contract about the rematch, in that time, other promoters were screaming at the IBF saying, oh my God, the mandatory's due. You should, you know, the mandatory fighter shouldn't be waiting X amount of time until this rematch is done. They're in a position to fight for the IBF title. So the IBF decided to strip Tyson Fury. They said, right, Tyson, you've got 2 options here. We're going to strip you of the belt, or you don't fight Klitschko. But of course, he's contracted to fight Klitschko. So he had to basically allow them to strip the belt from him. So when they stripped the belt from him, that belt became vacant. The number 1 and number 2 challengers fought each other for the belt. Of course, that was Charles Martin. He was second in line, and then first in line was Glazkov. So first in line was Glazkov, second in line Charles Martin. So those guys fought for the vacant IBF title. Of course, Charles Martin was doing quite well in the fight, and then Glazkov's knee buckled, and it was basically a freak injury, and his knee had gone. And by that point, he couldn't carry on. So Charles Martin became the champion because Glazkov's knee buckled and he couldn't walk properly or move properly. There's no saying Charles Martin wouldn't have knocked him out, but Charles Martin was also the underdog in this fight. So the bookies had Glazkov winning this fight. Okay, so like I said, there's nothing saying that Charles Martin wouldn't have knocked him out anyway. Charles Martin's the new champion. This all happened on January the 16th, by the way. So we're just literally not even 3 months later, he defends his title against Joshua. Joshua wipes him out. Charles Martin hadn't really fought any proper opponents up until this point. Neither had Joshua, to be honest. And this is what it is. So the real man of the division, because like I say, to be the man, you've got to beat the man. The man was Klitschko. Tyson Fury is the man. He's still got the WBO and the WBA belts, and of course he's got the ring title as well, which is like a magazine title that's only given to like the greatest fighter, the main fighter in that particular division. For example, that's a belt that Mayweather's had, the ring title. Various other fighters that are regarded as the main man in the division. Deontay Wilder beat Bermane Stiverne to get the belt. Joshua beat Charles Martin to get the belt. Those two guys were never the man. They were never, ever, ever, ever the main man in the heavyweight division. Vladimir Klitschko was. So, like I say, I'm not taking anything away from Joshua. I think it's amazing that he's won this belt. Like I say, look at Deontay Wilder. I believe he was 31-0 before he challenged for the title. So here we've got Anthony, and everybody was jumping all over him saying how much of a fantastic fighter he is. Here we've got Anthony Joshua, who's basically won the title in half the fights Deontay Wilder did. So, like I say, this is a fantastic win for British boxing. I'm over the moon for Joshua, but we do have to remember that the main man in the division is Tyson Fury. But yeah, after going on that mini rant, I'm now going to move over to the other fights that took place on the Saturday. Sorry about that. That took about 5 minutes up of the time. If that made no sense whatsoever, then I'm very, very sorry I had to put you through that. We're now going to go over to Crawley now at the K2 Leisure Centre. Ben Jones topped the bill with a record of 21-5 with the one draw. He faced Jesus Antonio Rios. Now, this was a no decision. This was a strange old fight. It was for Ben Jones' WBO Intercontinental Featherweight title. Jesus Antonio Rios was cut in an accidental second round head clash, and the fight was halted in the third round as a result of that. And under the WBO rules, if the fight isn't past 4 rounds, then it will be declared as a no decision if the fighter cannot continue due to an accidental injury. So, like I say, it was in the third round, and in that case, it had to be stopped, and it was a no decision. So maybe we'll see a rematch there. I'm not too sure, but it's really a horrible way to end the fight because no one's a winner, no one's a loser. They all sort of done it for no reason. So hopefully we see that fight come round again. Moving over now to the MGM Grand Garden Arena in Las Vegas. Top of the bill, Manny Pacquiao, 57-6 with 2 draws, faced off against Timothy Bradley, 33-1 with the 1 draw. This was for the vacant WBO International Welterweight title. Manny Pacquiao, to be honest, I saw this fight. I stayed up for this one. Manny Pacquiao showed glimpses of the old Pacquiao that we've seen. He was darting in and out. I love it when he does that. He jumps in and out. He jumps in, throws a few punches, jumps out. It's amazing seeing him do that. So we did see that. And of course, a lot of people talking about Manny Pacquiao hasn't had a stoppage for years and years and years. Manny Pacquiao put Tim Bradley down twice in this fight. One of them was pretty heavy. One of them wasn't too great. But again, still a knockdown, still legitimate knockdowns with no complaint whatsoever. These guys, of course, have fought each other 3 times now. Manny Pacquiao and Timothy Bradley. There's been no knockdowns at all until this fight. So it actually took 30 rounds of fighting between these two guys before the first knockdown came in the 31st round. So Manny Pacquiao, of course, he should have won all 3 of these fights. The first fight, Timothy Bradley was gifted. It was absolutely awful decision. The second fight, Manny Pacquiao won, and now he's won this one as well. And this one was probably the clearest. I believe that all 3 judges ruled it 116-110. A lot of people were moaning, saying it wasn't that wide, but of course you've got to bear in mind the 2 knockdowns that Manny Pacquiao picked up. Timothy Bradley did do really well though, and of course Manny Pacquiao, really, really good win for him. Like I say, the clearest one yet, and he's decided straight after this fight to retire from the sport of boxing. So I'm not sure how legitimate that actually is, but Manny Pacquiao at the moment, he's currently retired. So it'd be interesting to see what actually does happen. Of course, him and Mayweather now retired. It's strange because usually we see fighters go on too long and then, they're past their best and then they decide to retire when they're getting beaten by people they wouldn't have been beaten by in their primes. Floyd Mayweather, of course, top of the game really in the 147 category. Manny Pacquiao, arguably second now. They're both seeming to retire. The 2 top guys are seeming to retire before they really show us any sign of decline, which is good. It's good for themselves, But as boxing fans, we do like to see them in there a few more. We do like to see them in there, perhaps too long, to be totally honest. Maybe we like to see them in there until they get beaten, and then we go, oh my God, he should have retired a few fights ago. So to be honest, I've got no qualms with his decision if that's one he's going to stick by. But Manny Pacquiao, I think he really beats all the top boys in 147 without Mayweather in there. And I really mean that, Ayaz. I think that Manny Pacquiao would beat Furman. He would beat Porter. Of course, he'd beat Bradley. He would beat Brook. I think he'd beat all of the names in there, to be totally honest. Just the way he darts in and out, I think it would be a big, big problem for Brook. And this is how I put my welterweights down. I seriously think, first was Mayweather, second Manny Pacquiao, and third, it's really close between Tim Bradley and Kell Brook. Really close. Really, really close. And I think Manny Pacquiao beats all of them apart from Mayweather, to be honest. So how do you feel about his decision to retire, if it's going to be a genuine one, Ayaz?
I personally reckon he won't retire. Because I was watching a video and Freddie Roach is like, I don't think Pacquiao will retire. I reckon a fight that I would like to see, yeah, and if it happens, right, is you know how Kell Brook stated he wants a big fight? I reckon a fight between Brook and Pacquiao would sell out.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course it would. The only thing is, would he come over to England to have that fight? I really, really doubt it. Would Brook go over to America? It would be nice to see that fight, but to be honest, that would be the only fight that Brook could have outside of the Mayweather fight, that he would get the credit that Khan's getting for taking on Canelo, to be totally honest. So hopefully that fight could get made. I would love to see that fight. I really would. But it's a massive risk for Kell Brook. If he lost to Pacquiao, where does he go from there? But like I said, there's not too much shame in losing to Pacquiao, because he really is, like I say, in my opinion anyway, even though he's not the Pacquiao of old, he's still good enough to beat all these guys. So in my opinion, like I say, he's the top of the top in the 147 division, provided Mayweather stays retired. That's another one we're not too sure about. Moving down that bill, Arthur Abraham put his WBO World Super Middleweight title on the line against Gilberto Ramirez. Of course, Arthur Abraham, a lot of people saying that he's been over the hill for the last several fights, to be totally honest. He had a record of 44-4 going in this fight. He faced off against Gilberto Ramirez, 33-0. Gilberto Ramirez is the new WBO World Super Middleweight champion. So Arthur Abraham finally loses his WBO strap. Arthur Abraham now 44 wins and 5 losses. Gilberto Ramirez, the new WBO world champ, with a 34-0 record. So a very nice looking record. Arthur Abraham, it'd be interesting to see what happens with him now. Is he going to carry on? I've got no clue. Will he perhaps fight someone like Felix Sturm? That would be like an all-German clash. It'll get big numbers and big money in Germany, and of course probably a winnable fight. They're both absolutely shot, especially Sturm. I think he's there for the taking, to be totally honest. Moving down that bill, Oscar Valdez, 18-0, took on the former IBF champ Evgeny Gradovich. Oscar Valdez picked up the TKO in round 4. So Evgeny Gradovich stopped in 4 rounds. So that's a big statement there from Oscar Valdez. That was for the vacant WBO, NABO featherweight title. So Oscar Valdez moving onwards and upwards. And Evgeny Gradovich, I really don't know where he's going to go from here. Of course, his record now 21-2 with the 1 draw. And his other loss, of course, was to Lee Selby, who we mentioned earlier. Also, I should mention on that bill, the lightweight prospect, Devin Haney. He was on that bill. He moved to 5-0 with a unanimous decision after 4 rounds against Rafael Vasquez. Devin Haney, definitely someone to watch for in the future. And that's really it for the review side of things on this week's show. We're now going to bring on our first guest. Okay, now it's time for our first guest on this week's show. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome part of the awesome foursome, also known as the Smith brothers, is Stephen Smith. Stephen, welcome to the show.
Thanks, mate.
No problem, no problem. Of course, we're only a few days away now from the fight. How are you feeling ahead of the biggest fight of your career, Stephen?
I'm feeling really good. I've had a good camp, so, that's all you can ask for, really. It's the opportunity and go away and have a good camp and be fully prepared for it, and I've done that.
Now you're fighting, of course, Jose Pedreza, 21-0 his record. He's the IBF World Super Featherweight Champion. What do you know about him, Stephen? What have you seen of him?
I've known him quite a while. He's a talented fighter. He boxes from both stances. Likes to switch mid-fight, and he seems to see how the fight's going and seems to switch his stance. And it's something we've trained for, we've prepared for, and I'm confident going in.
Okay, now you've only boxed once abroad as a pro. You fought in Germany. You knocked the guy out in the first round. Is there any qualms at all on your part regarding travelling over to the USA?
No problem. I boxed all around the world, my amateurs, and it's one of them things. People know how close we are as a family. Myself, my brothers, and my brothers have boxed in the States. Callum and Paul have boxed over there, and going through it with them is like going through it yourself anyway. So I feel like I've already been over there and boxed anyway.
How much will it mean to you, Stephen, of course, to join that ever-growing list of British world champions? At the moment, we've got 11. By the time this interview goes out, we may have 12 with Joshua's fight on the weekend.
It's everything to me. Becoming a world champion is what I first ever, dreamt of when I first put a pair of gloves on. And, nothing's changed. I still dream of becoming a world champion, and I'm confident I can make that happen next week.
Now, are you someone that thrives under pressure, Stephen? Because of course, you're going out there, of course, like in the lion's den almost. Are you someone that can thrive under that pressure and soak it up?
Definitely, yeah. I believe I've always performed better when the pressure's been on, and this will be no difference. I believe you'll see the best of me when I'm out there under pressure.
Okay, now I know that all of the brothers, to be honest, they deflect it onto each other, but who do you feel is the best out of the Smith brothers, pound for pound?
It's one of them questions that gets asked a lot, but I don't think you can look past Callum. I think what he's doing when he's getting in there and performing is it's second to none. He's going out and he's absolutely demolishing everyone in his way. Really, he's out of 19 fights, 14 knockouts. He's had 10-1 knockouts, which just shows you the quality of the lad and the absolute power he's got.
Now, I did actually want to touch on Callum. Of course, we've seen him absolutely demolish Mohammadi for the European title. He's now mandatory to face Badu Jack. There's not really much else to say about it, really. He seems to be a complete monster, a complete machine, to be honest.
Yeah, he's just, as you say, he's demolishing everything put in his way. Coming through from winning an English title in one round to a British title in one round, and then the European title in one round. He's just doing everything he's after him and more. So we can't be more happy with how things are going for him. And as you said, he's in a managed position now for the world title. So those opportunities will come. It's just a matter of waiting for it to happen now. And we're very confident you'll go and win a world title.
Absolutely. Because there really is a chance now that all the Smith brothers could become champions at the same time. I know that you all picked up the British belt, but there's actually a chance. Of course, we've got Liam champ at the moment. Callum's in the mandatory position. You got your fight this weekend, and Paul, if he can get a fight, but perhaps with someone like Felix Sturm, I've got all confidence he can win that title.
Yeah, definitely. Paul's got to just get himself back in, get some wins, and then there's opportunities there for him. As you said, especially with the likes of Sturm and Abraham, obviously, isn't it? Sturm out there, but his name's known in Germany now through the Abraham fights and possibly the fight with Ward as well. So there's going to be opportunities for him. He just needs to go and get a couple of wins and get himself back in the mix, and then there could be chances for Paul as well. And mine's happening now, and Callum's in the man. Liam's already won it, so it's a realistic possibility.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, someone we should as well mention, fighting on the same bill as you, also for a world title. He's going to be on the show a little bit later. Irishman Patrick Hyland. He's going out there to face Gary Russell Jr. What are his chances in this fight, in your opinion, Stephen?
Yeah, he's got every chance. He's up against the top 45 in Gary Russell, but it's the same as myself. Look, we wouldn't have it any other way. To go and win a world title, you want to go and beat the champion, and you don't want to give him to you. And I'm sure Patrick's relishing that chance, and I wish him all the best. I really hope he goes out and does it. We've known the family for a long time, and I really hope he does well and goes out and does it. The two of us get world title, it'd be something else.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, listen, you and your three brothers are a huge credit to British boxing, a real family of heroes. Thank you. I wish you the absolute best in becoming the second world champion out of the brothers. Hopefully the next time we're speaking, Stephen, I'll be talking to the new IBF champion of the world.
Yeah, thanks very much, mate. Thanks a lot.
Okay, now it's time for part 2 on this week's show. This part, of course, is the preview part where we preview the fights before they happen this week. We're going to start over in Mexico. Jose Zepeda, he gets out again. His record at the moment, 24-1. Of course, that one defeat was to Terry Flanagan for the WBO world title. His opponent yet to be announced, but again, it's good to get Jose Zepeda, a good fighter, to be totally honest, back in the mix. We're now going to go over to Puerto Rico. Top of the bill over there, Felix Verdejo, 20-0. He faces Jose Luis Rodriguez, who has a record of 18-8. Felix Verdejo, again, a top fighter that we will be keeping a close eye on, and everybody else should. And that's really it for South America. We're now going to go straight over to the United Kingdom at the First Direct Arena in Leeds. Of course, top of the bill, the Leeds sweetheart, Josh Warrington, 22-0. He faces Hisashi Amagasa. This is for the WBC International Featherweight title. Amagasa has a record of 30 wins, 5 losses and 2 draws. This will be another tough test for Josh Warrington. Again, if he prevails, he really is closing in on that world stage. A good fighter, Josh Warrington, Ayaz. I think that he's of course been linked with Lee Selby. I'm not sure if Lee Selby's going to be moving up soon. I'm not sure what he's doing, but Josh Warrington just behind Lee Selby, with all due respect, but still a really good fighter and one that is definitely capable of world level.
Yeah, Josh Warrington's a very good fighter, right? Obviously, fighting Amagasa, like there's rumours that like you said, to fight Lee Selby at Ellen Road. But I reckon like Lee Selby's up right above him. I reckon a level above him, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. At this stage, he is anyway, but we'll see down the line. Also on that bill, former world champion Stuart Hall, 19-4 with 2 draws. He faces Rodrigo Guerrero, who has a record of 24 wins, 5 losses and 1 draw. Believe me, this would be a tough fight for Stewie Hall, this one. No joke, Rodrigo Guerrero. He's been matched pretty tough, to be totally honest with you. His 5 losses to capable opponents. Also on that bill, prospect Jake Ball. He looks to move to 5-0. He takes on Colin Farricker, who has a record of 3 wins and 2 losses. Also on the bill, Isaac Chamberlain, prospect from Brixton. Of course, everybody watched his documentary on Sky Sports, Made in Brixton. Isaac Chamberlain, 4-0 at the moment. He faces undefeated Russ Henshaw, who has a record of 6-0. So somebody's O has got to go. It's good to see 2 prospects getting in the ring together this early in their careers. Moving down the bill once again, Martin J. Ward, he gets out again. His opponent yet to be announced. Of course, Martin J. Ward, 13-0 with 2 draws. He's putting his WBC International Super Featherweight title on the line. Also getting out again, Dave Ryan, who has a record of 17 wins and 9 losses. He gets out again in an 8-rounder. His opponent yet to be announced. That's it for the UK. We're now going to shoot over to America. Top of the bill over in Connecticut, USA. Jose Pedreza against Stephen Smith. Of course, we just finished speaking to Stephen Smith. Jose Pedreza has a record of 21-0. Stephen Smith 23-1. That 1 loss to Lee Selby. Of course, this is for the IBF World Super Featherweight Championship of the World. Jose Pedreza completely no knockover, but of course, Stephen Swifty Smith, really, really good fighter. And as you can tell from our earlier conversation, very, very confident going into this fight. Also on that bill, Gary Russell Jr. puts his WBC World Featherweight title on the line against Ireland's very own Patrick Hyland. Of course, Gary Russell Jr. 26-1. His 1 loss coming to Lomachenko. Patrick Hyland 31-1. So both guys have a combined record of 57-2. This one is going to be a good fight. I really hope Patrick Hyland can do the business over there. It'd be fantastic if Stephen Smith can cause the upset and Patrick Hyland can also cause the upset here. Go straight over to the United States of America and rip the titles away from the champions. We will be speaking to Patrick Hyland very, very shortly about this fight. We're going to leave those 2 there. We're now going to move over to what's happening down in the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, New York, of course. Top of the bill over there. Huge prospect for the 147 division, Errol Spence Jr., 19-0. He faces tricky customer Chris Algieri, 21-2. Of course, those 2 losses coming to Amir Khan and Manny Pacquiao. Chris Algieri, again, he's a fighter, Ayaz, who can sort of keep it long. He uses his size well. He uses his reach well. When he fights and sort of boxes off the back foot and keeps it everything behind the jab, he's very, very hard to beat. When he gets involved like he did against Pacquiao, he was able to get, he couldn't really use his jab. And the speed, I believe, really was the difference between Chris Algieri and both Pacquiao and Khan. Now, of course, Errol Spence is fast with his hands as well, but he's not as fast, in my opinion, as Pacquiao or Khan. I think this is a tougher fight than some people are saying. I really do. I think Errol Spence, of course, everybody believes he's the goods. He's got a fantastic record, 19-0, a good ranking in all the bodies. But Chris Algieri is certainly not one to look over, Ayaz, is he?
No, because Chris Algieri is going to actually come to fight. That's why.
Yeah, of course. You know, every fight he's been in, he's come to fight, especially when we see him get up off the floor of what people were calling like the beast from the East, of course, Ruslan Provodnikov. We see him get dropped in the first round, I believe it was now, Chris Algieri. Got up off the floor and won that fight. So it goes to show you he's got a lot of heart, Chris Algieri. I think this is going to be a really tough test for Errol Spence, to be totally honest. Of course, everybody believes he's the goods, but Chris Algieri, a really tough fighter. I'm telling you, you really have to beat the living daylights out of him to, you know, and be fast and be in and out. You really have to fight on your A game to beat Chris Algieri. Like I say, he's only lost to two good guys. So this would be a really, really, really good fight, in my opinion. One that I'm looking forward to watching. Of course, the fight is being shown on Box Nation. We're going to move down the bill now. Krzysztof Glowacki, 25-0 cruiserweight WBO World Cruiserweight Champion. He puts his belt on the line against Steve Cunningham. Steve Cunningham, of course, 28-7 with the one draw. The ex-US veteran. Steve Cunningham, of course, we've seen him in there with the likes of Fury. He was at cruiserweight, then he moved up to heavyweight, then he's come back down to cruiserweight. We're going to see what that's done to his body. I know he was a very, very small heavyweight, but it's going to be interesting. I'm not a fan of people who jump up and down the weights, you know, up and down, up, then down, then up, then down. It's not very good for your body, to be totally honest. But like I say, Cunningham was only coming in a few pounds over heavy anyway. So it'd be interesting to see, because Glowacki is a really, really good fighter. And Steve Cunningham, of course, I believe we've seen good performances from Steve Cunningham of late, but this one might be a really tough test, to be honest. Glowacki, of course, the favourite and the champion going into this, but it'd be amazing if Steve Cunningham could pull off the win. Of course, he's got a lot of experience under his belt now. He's been in a lot of tough fights, and that experience could play a part in this fight. We'll have to wait and see. Marcus Brown also on the bill. He fights for the vacant WBC United States light heavyweight title. His record, of course, 17-0. He faces Radivoj Kaladzic, someone I do not know much about whatsoever, but he has a record of 21-0. So a combined record, these guys 38-0. Somebody's O will have to go. And that's really it. We're going to leave it there for the previewing on this week's show. We're now going to welcome our second guest. Okay, now it's time for guest number 2 on this week's show. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome, fighting Gary Russell Jr. for the WBC World Featherweight Championship, is Patrick Hyland. Patrick, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
First and foremost, how are you feeling, Patrick? So close to your fight. Of course, we're just days away now.
I'm feeling great. I'm flying out to New York tomorrow, and I'm actually buzzing. Can't wait to get out there. Fight week is always a good week coming up. You know, all the hard work is done, and it's just time to get in there and put on a show on that Saturday night, and hopefully come out WBC World Champion.
Absolutely. Now, what do you know about Gary Russell Jr.? Of course, we've seen him in there with the likes of Vasyl Lomachenko. We know that Lomachenko is one of the best fighters pound for pound. Have you taken anything from that fight that you're looking to use against Gary Russell on Saturday?
Just a kind of Lomachenko's work rate was great. It's just Lomachenko's a lefty as well, so he kind of moves a lot different than myself. So I haven't really took it much into that. Just had a good work rate, and you kind of upset Gary Russell a bit. But I know Gary Russell is an outstanding boxer, an outstanding fighter with great hand speed. So, you know, I've worked hard in the gym and with a game plan, and you know, just has to just all come together on the night. And if it does, I'll be world champion.
Of course, Gary Russell hasn't been in the ring for just over a year now. I know that you won't be relying on him being ring rusty at all, but is it important for you to start fast and try to win some of those early rounds?
Well, I'm hoping he has a bit of ring rust. I'll match with mine. Like I like to build myself up. I'm a kind of a slow starter myself, but I'll be nice and sharp for the first few rounds, and you know, hopefully it'll come into effect that his ring rust is out and his timing is off, and I'll be landing my shots and hurting him early on.
Now, how much will it mean to you to bring that WBC belt back home to the fans of Ireland?
Oh, it means the world to me. Like, not only that, like, you know, be able to look up to the heavens to my dad who just passed away. All the hard work he's done over the years, putting me through my paces since I was a kid, drilling me in from day one. Just to say, Dad, I've done it, and to come back to my family like with the belt is just going to be, it'll be a dream come true, and it'll be a touchy moment, but an exciting then. I'll be excited then for the times ahead after that.
Okay, I'm very sorry to hear that. I wasn't aware of that actually.
No worries.
Is that something recent or?
About 10 months ago, he left us. I had a fight over in October, and it was the first time he was ever, without me in the corner. It was a tough one. I thought I was focused and ready on the job. I went out for a training camp in New York, and everything went well until after the first round. I looked to the left, and my dad wasn't there. It was a touchy, a moment in the fight. Kind of didn't want to be in the fight then, but then I came out and I knocked the guy out in the 8th round. So all the stuff that he worked into me, paid off at the end, and I'm buzzing now. I'm properly mentally focused now, and on the job in hand, and ready to become world champion.
Yeah, excellent. So I mean, obviously, you, despite of course winning the fight since the death of your father, of course you want to put 2015 behind you. Really, I know you can't do it completely. Obviously, there's memories stuck in 2015, but of course 2016 you really want to make your year, of course.
Exactly. Yeah, 2016 will be my 12th year as a professional. All the hard work, I wanted to pay off in this fight. All the years of the hard work, the grinding, the time away from the family, everything is going to come out into this fight. And if I become the champion of the world, then there's massive fights for me. There's Lee Selby, there's even my little friend Carl Frampton. He could be moving up the featherweight, and he's there. And there's also with myself, I'm a big featherweight, so I could move up to 130 and challenge someone at the belt there. There's exciting times ahead. But first of all, I got to become the champion to make all these dreams happen.
Yes, of course. Now, also on the bill, challenging for a world title too. He was on the show a little bit earlier. Stephen Smith. You're both looking to invade the USA and take those belts back home. What do you think of Stephen Smith's chances in his fight?
I think he has a great chance. I know Pedreza is not the biggest a puncher. He's a great boxer. With Stephen Smith, he's a talent himself, and I know he's going to be like myself and going all out to become world champion. He's been waiting a long time. I've had a crack in 2012. I didn't succeed, but I'm pretty sure Stephen is ready and willing to be coming home IBF champion. I know Stephen and the brothers years. We boxed. My younger brother boxed against him in an international and got beaten. I've been away with Paul as an international as well. So I'm hoping that the both of us will be on the plane back to England and Ireland with the World Championships.
Yeah, I actually asked him about your fight as well. I pretty much asked you both the same question. He basically mirrored what you said, to be honest. He said that, you go back with his family quite far. And he also said that, to be honest, me and Patrick wouldn't have it any other way. We want to go abroad and win the title and take it away from the champion. Take it away.
Go into the lines then. It's nothing new for us. We don't fear any of that. I definitely don't, and I know Stephen doesn't. So yeah, going over there and taking them away from the guys live on American TV is even better, And Sky Sports will be getting the show back home, which will be amazing for the Irish and UK fans.
Yeah, definitely. My fingers are crossed for both of you. Of course, the featherweight division is a pretty hot division at the moment. If you go and win this title, is there anyone in particular you'd like to get in the ring with? I know that, you don't really want to look too much past Gary Russell because it is, of course, a really hard fight. But is there anyone you've got your eye on at all?
Just all the champions. There's Lee Selby's there, it'll be a great UK fight, UK or Ireland fight. The Santa Cruz will be a major fight for myself to go over to America, and should even looking outside of that, you have the other kid, Josh Warrington, is coming up, and he's ranked number 2 or 3, and fights like in the UK and Ireland could be made, and they'll be so exciting and so good for all the European side to watch anyways.
Yeah, definitely. So basically, if you do go out there and do the business, then we won't see you in any. You're not one who's going to start, falling back a level and going in those sort of easy fights. You really are looking for the big fights past this one.
Oh yeah, most definitely. Like as I said, I'm 12 years as a pro now, and like when they asked me about Gary Russell, I jumped at the chance. I said, of course, yeah, majorly because it's for a world title, but another reason because he's one of the best fighters out there, and that's who I want to be fighting to prove myself and all the years of work. So yeah, if I win this belt, I'm not sure if there's a mandatory challenge already. A guy won the silver belt, but if not, definitely one of the top boys. That's what I'm aiming for.
Great stuff. Now, the last question I've got for you now, Patrick, in your heart of hearts, what are we going to see from yourself on Saturday? And if you could give us any sort of prediction, that'd be excellent.
What are we going to see from myself? We're going to see, hard work, dedication in the ring, me becoming WBC World Champion. Prediction in a fight, I'm ready to go to war for 12 rounds. But, Russell doesn't think that I hit as hard, and he's going to have a big shock on the night. And the win is coming back to Dublin, Ireland. That's my prediction anyways.
Excellent. I mean, at the end of the day, you both got the same amount of knockouts, really. So,
yeah.
So I can't really see his point there. But listen, Patrick, thank you so much for giving us a bit of your time so close to the fight. I wish you a safe journey to the States, and hopefully next time we're speaking, you've got that gold and green belt around your waist.
Sounds good, doesn't it?
Sounds very good. It sounds very good. Patrick Hyland, WBC World Champ. He's got a little ring to it, I think that does.
It does, doesn't it? I like the sound of it too.
Excellent stuff. Listen, Patrick, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll speak again soon.
Great stuff. Thank you. Thanks a lot, lads.
Okay, now it's time to conclude episode 28 of the BoxHard Podcast. I've been your host, Joey Coastman. Ayaz Sumra has been Ayaz Sumra. A big thank you to our two guests on this week's show, of course, both challenging for a world title at the weekend, Stephen Smith and Patrick Hyland. I just want to say I apologise for the poor audio during some of the Stephen Smith interview. He was literally in a barber's getting his hair cut just before he left Liverpool for the United States. So best of luck to both guys challenging for a world title on the weekend. And of course, a massive thank you to our listeners for listening this far once again and continuing to show support to the BoxHard Podcast. We'll be back next week with another big show. Until then, take care.